Okay, so today I'm going to uh, start focusing on Spark SQL. Okay, so if you look at the Spark ecosystem components, is the common one which we yeah. So if you look at here, we discussed about the Spark RDD, which is a core API, right? That's so when you say Spark, Apache Spark, and some places they mention core engine, Spark core engine. So everything you handle your data in the form of or in the form of RDD. Okay, that's what we discussed. So underlying any computation that happens through RDD only. Okay, so on Spark. So end of the day, even if you use any of the library, uh, uh, when it go and execute on the Spark engine, so basically it uses the RDD API. Okay, so we discussed the last few classes about RDD, how to create RDD, how to perform operations on RDD, and get your business logic done. Okay, so I hope you are clear on that, right? So is there any question on that?
No, sir. That's it.
Right. So that is when people say ask about Spark Core API, it's basically RDD. Okay, whatever you do on RDD is basically Spark Core API. Then on top of that, you have different libraries or modules for the specific use cases. Say example in RDD, whatever we saw, it's morely uh, it's basically we worked on a collection, distributed collection. It's not having any structured format, right? So it's more of it's a more of a collection, basically list of elements. Okay, but it can be processed. It will be processed across the cluster. So it's not a single machine computation. The RDD is meant for. It's basically for distributed computing. So, and the maximum what we saw is basically RDD will have a collection of string value, or it might have a collection of number value, which is integer or float, or and then we also had a collection of or the a collection of key value pairs. The maximum we had is basically a collection of either integers or string, or we add a key value pairs as well. So that's what we see in the RDD. Now if you want to represent your structured data, say example I have a customer data, I have a order data, or you can have even you have a employee data, or any other structured data. If you want to represent as a tabular format, so what is the way we can do it in Spark? So if you have those scenarios, then you can use a Spark SQL. So Spark SQL will help you to represent your data in the form of um, fields, or maybe the rows and columns, that you can actually relate to the data frame in a Spark SQL. So basically, it provides you the row and the columns way of representing your data. Okay. So we can actually use Spark SQL for processing a structured data. Whenever you have a structured data, you can use Spark SQL to process your data. So if you go to the Spark documentation, so you can go to this programming guide, and you can go to Spark SQL data frame datasets. So if you look at here, Spark SQL is a module for structured data processing. Okay. Unlike basic RDD, Spark RDD API, the interface provided by the Spark SQL provide Spark with more information about structure of both data and the computation being performed. Internally, Spark uses this extra information to perform extra optimization. So basically, the Spark SQL provides not only the data, it also provides the computation being performed on those data. So which will help you to do the optimization in better way. There are several ways to interact with the Spark SQL, including uh, SQL and dataset API. So you can think of as a data frame API. So dataset is basically another another data structure in Spark, but dataset is only used in a Scala. Okay. So when we in a PySpark, you have Spark SQL and data frame. So but internally actually a data frame is it's nothing but actually a data set of raw object. But when we I will tell you when we discuss about it, basically um, data set is basically a data frame with a typed object. Okay, so data set is nothing but again it is a data frame with a typed object. It's nothing but data set. But in PySpark we don't have data set, so we can just think of as a you express your data in the form of either SQL or in the data frame API. So when you're computing a result, the same execution is used. Either use data frame API or dataset API or SQL API. End of the day, the execution engine is same, independent of which API or language you are uh, using to express the computation. This unification means that developers can easily switch back and forth between the different APIs based on which provides the most natural way to express the given information. So this one paragraph basically gives you a solid basics about the Spark SQL. Okay, so Spark SQL nothing but all these three: Spark SQL, SQL API, and you have a dataset and data frame APIs. So uh, so we will focus on Spark SQL data frame. Dataset is meant for mostly the Scala developers. Dataset is not available in PySpark. Okay, now so today I will start with the data frame API. Okay, so basically data frame again it's data frame is nothing but a collection of row. Okay, so there is a class called row. Okay, so if you example if you take a RDD is nothing but collection of elements, right? So if you have an integer or you can have strings, right? Basically it's a collection of. So data frame is nothing but collection of row objects. Row basically what row objects will have uh, multiple columns, and the column will have value associated to that. Okay. So so that's basically what is Spark SQL and what is data frame, and the SQL API SQL interface we will use it maybe tomorrow or day after, but we will focus on today on the data frame. So okay, so now for the data frame API, RDD API, we used PyCharm, right? PyCharm IDE. Anyone used a Jupyter Notebook?
I use for Python practicing, but not expert.
Okay, fine. So basically, I think I don't know whether I introduced Jupyter Notebook. Maybe I introduced. So if Jupyter Notebook is a web-based IDE, you can think of as a web-based IDE or web-based system where you can write your code. So if you want to start your Jupyter Notebook, you can just type. You can just type a Jupyter Notebook. Okay. So this is comes with the Anaconda distribution of Python by default. If you are using a classic Python, which is open source Python, this Jupyter Notebook will not be available by default. You have to install it. So since I am using Anaconda distribution of Python, I can just go and type Jupyter Notebook, which will launch you the web interface on the port number 8888. So something like this. It will launch like this. Okay, then you can go and create the notebooks. So you can just create new and Python 3. So you can give this name, hello world. Rename it. The notebook name is rename, and here you can go and write. So this is nothing but a cell. Okay, so you can write your code here. Like I write just hello world. So you can just execute here, run this cell. This will be executed and will be. So this will be this Jupyter notebook used by the machine learning engineers and data scientists and the data analysts very frequently, because they interactively work with the data and they will do a lot of stuff like that. Okay, so for the learning purpose, probably when you go as a specific role in your organization, you might use uh, um, the amount of the time you spent on either Jupyter notebook and PyCharm depends based on the job role you go for. So mostly that interactive analysis, people use Jupyter notebook. For building a logic kind of ETL pipeline, other stuff, we use Jupyter, the PyCharm IDE. Okay, so I just have a earlier created notebook. So I'm going to use this. So basically, you should when you create a notebook. Okay, so I'm going to use the Spark API, right? So for Spark API, you should actually um, have you should have set the Spark environment variable. Okay, so if you go to, you'll open it in. So we open a nano and home.bash rc. So when we install the Spark, we set the Spark home directory. Right, so this is there. So I'm using a Spark version 3.0.1 and which is built on the Hadoop with this, which has it's basically a binary distribution, which comes with the Hadoop 3.2 libraries. Okay, so pre-built with the Hadoop 3.0 libraries. So I'm using this version of Spark. So when you want to use a Jupyter PySpark code, you want to write it on Jupyter notebook, you should set the Spark home directory. Okay, so in environment variable, as an environment variable in bash rc files. So once you set this, you can access this, because when you want to access these APIs, so it has to have a the Spark home. Okay, and then not this. Okay, so you can actually run this command to test your whether you have Spark home directory. So you can import a OS package, which is a standard package in Python, and you can access environment variables OS dot environment and pass the variable name. It will give you the value set for that variable. So if this is set, then it is properly set, and uh, then you can start. You can accessing the Spark package, and if you're so after setting this is set properly, and you are not able to import this PySpark package, you can go and install a package called PySpark, which is now part of your Python package. It's not a standard package, but you can install using a pip. Okay, you can use uh, yeah, you can use a pip install PySpark. It should be actually, once you have Spark home set properly, you should be able to access it. But still, if you are not able to access the PySpark, so you can install this PySpark package. Okay, so once you have a PySpark package installed, and then we can import it. So basically, whenever you want to write a PySpark code, the first thing you should remember is creating a Spark session object. So if I want to create a Spark session object, so you need to basically import the Spark session uh, class. So every time you should remember this in your mind. You should have this architecture. So here Spark context is nothing but your Spark session here, because the later this is the older, which is still we are using this architecture, but only thing is this Spark context is kept inside the Spark session object now. But still, whatever code you write is a driver program. The initial things we need to do is basically create a Spark context. Now we are creating a Spark session object which is wrapped around Spark context. So that will be your starting point. Okay. This. Okay. So how do you create a Spark session object? So Spark session dot builder, having it's as builder method, and then you can set different properties. So you can set application name, and then you can just provide the master URL and stuff like that. And you can also set many configurations. So probably we will go through later other properties uh, later. And then finally you can just use a dot get or create, which is going to give you a Spark session object. And just to check whether it is properly created, you can access the application name which you set. So the application name will be set on the Spark context object. So it is the app name is a property of Spark context, which is one more, which is actually a property in the Spark session object. We can access like this. So that's why we are getting this create first data frame in PySpark. So I hope till this you are clear, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So what we will do is, since we are going to create a data frame, so data frame is nothing but a collection of rows and columns. Okay, so there are different ways we can create data frames. Okay, uh, in so okay. Creating data frame. Okay, creating data frame basically two broader category. Okay, you can do from can be okay. One is basically using data source API. Okay, when I say data source API, your data source can be a file. Okay, say example, I might have customers dot CSV, or I might have JSON file I might have, or Parquet file, or I might have .avro file. It can be any, even it can be a txt file . So if you have your data in these files, this is also data source, right? File also data source. In this files, you can access the data source API. So Spark comes with the data source API. So using those APIs, you can access the data from these file formats. Okay, so once you actually read this file using the data source API, which is going to give you a data frame. So whatever the content in your these files, so that will be represented as a data frame, which will make you rows and columns in a data frame, and you can have the data frame, which will have the whatever the data is there in this file. Then you can perform operations. Okay, that is one way. And again, in data source itself, we have different formats. So different way or different source data sources available. One is a file source. Other can be of any data storage. It can be from any data storage. The data storage. Okay, so the data storage. It can be of RDBMS. It can be RDBMS like MySQL, Oracle, all the system, or it can be a NoSQL like MongoDB, Cassandra, HBase, other stuff, or it can be other storage. It can be also be a distributed storages. Okay, so anyway, the distributed storage like object stores like S3, um, something like those days also. So if you have files, data is in these storages, we can also pull the data from this storage and create a data frame. Okay, so these are one way. Okay, so other way is you can programmatically create data frames. Programmatically. So you might have the Python list object. You might have a tuple objects. You might have a dictionary. Dictionary objects. You can convert these objects and create a data frame. Okay, so you will have df equal to whatever way you are doing. So it is going to access those data and create a data frame. Okay, so df generally it's a kind of it's a known notation for just representing a data frame. It can be any name, but generally we use df. Okay, df is nothing but data frame. Okay. So this is so this is high level. How do you create a data frame using a data source API or programmatically? Okay, now we will focus on first start with this, how to programmatically create a, data frame. Okay, so first thing is, say example, I have a list. Okay, so I have a users list. Okay, the list is basically a contains list of strings. So look at here, this it has a string which contains information about a user. So basically user ID, name and city. So that is wrapped inside a one string value. And you can you have a multiple string values which represent respective user information. So this is basically a list. List contains multiple elements. Now what we can do is we can actually convert this list into RDD. So how do you convert a particular Python list into RDD? You can use a parallel method, which is part of your Spark context. You can access through the Spark session object. So this is going to give me the user RDD, okay, user RDDs, okay. So basically, what I'm going to prepare is I'm going to prepare RDD of, it has now RDD of list, right? Um, nothing but RDD of string. So it is having a RDD of this string elements. Now I'm going to convert this string value into tuple. So basically, I'll just separate to the split by 5. I access each element, right? So what we do is you take this, you can just do split of 5. What we are going to get is we are going to get list. Then you can access the list by specifying the index. 0th position is the user ID and first position is the username, and the 0th position and first position and second position will be a city. So that's what I'm doing it here. The element. Uh, so to iterate your RDD, so we know the transformation called map. Okay, so when you use map transformation, you can pass a function to map to be applied on each element. So you can pass you can write a function and pass it, or you can use a lambda function, which is anonymous function. So take each element, and I'm just doing a split by pipe separator and accessing the first element, which I'm going to prepare and I'm just converting into uh, integer because I'm just user ID. I just want to have it an integer type. Then I'm just creating this open bracket is to create a tuple. Okay, this is for the user ID, and comma, this is for the username, which is in the first position, and a comma, this is for the uh, user city. So I'm just taking each elements, which is a string value, right? This is a string value, and creating a tuple. And then once you have a RDD of tuples, there is a method called create data frame in the Spark session object. And if you pass a list RDD of tuple, it will give you the data frame. Okay. So let me run this. Okay. So we had a let me print this also. Right. So we had a list of string elements. We converted into uh, the sorry. This is a list, and then we can also think as a RDD of string element. Then we convert a RDD of tuples, and then we used a function called create data frame. So this created a data frame with the columns and rows. So all this tuple become rows, right? User information, and it created a column name as _1, _2, _3 because we did not provide the column name. So by Spark itself, given a column name as _1, 2, and 3, and it created the data frame. So you have a columns and you have rows, 5 rows in there. And if you want to know the schema of schema is nothing but basically the structure of your data frame, you can access the function called print schema and open and close bracket. So this is my data frame. I can use a data frame dot print schema. So it is printing column and its type, whether it is nullable allowed on this column. So columns are minus, sorry, _1, _2, _3, and it is here represented as long. And even though we given integer here, it's actually inferred as long here. So long, integer, sorry, string and string. And so how we are actually seeing this data, we are using there is a function called show. Okay, that show function gives you the displays the data from the data frame. Okay, so you can pass how many rows you want to print. You can pass the number of rows you want to print it. So we have totally 5 only. So even though we pass 5, so 10, we have only 5. So it is printing all the rows. Okay, now okay, fine. We are able to create a data frame, but having a column like this is not good. So we want to make this column as user ID and user name and city. Okay, that's what we want to make it. Okay, further what we can do is okay, so now I just have that. So I just created a list of tuples. I'm having a list which contains the tuple values. So basically, which we did previously. Here we have directly the tuples here, and we create a data frame. Okay. When we create a data frame, it is going to give this column name as -1. Now, if you want to pass the columns, so basically we need to create a schema. Okay. So structure, we have to create a structure for your data frame. So how do you create a structure for your data frame? So there is a, so when we created a table in RDBMS, what we do, we just say create table name and column name and data type, right? We provide, right? Similarly, we have to provide a structure here. So for that, we need to access set of classes from the package called Spark SQL.types. So all the data types will be inside this package. So there is a class called struct type, there is a class called struct field, there is a type called, there is a class called integer type and string type. So basically what you need to create is, you need to create actually a struct type of multiple struct fields. So struct type is represents basically your the final schema, okay, and which will have the list of it. So when we say square bracket, it's list, right? It is going to contain a list of struct field object. Each struct field refers the column, one column. See this struct field represents ID column. This struct field represents the name column, and this struct field represents the city column. So when you create a struct field, you can pass a multiple properties. One is the column name and data type of the column, and what is whether this column is nullable, allowed, or not. So I'm just creating a struct type of a list which consists of multiple struct fields, and then